Welcome to this episode of The Good, the Bad, the Odd. With you, my host, Mark and Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hello there.
Right, so we're back in Disney. We're back in 40s Disney, and
Mm,
we're back in musical sort of anthology territory, really. Like, say,
yeah.
with Three Caballeros and Saludos Amigos. This was even more. There wasn't a through line in this one at all,
No,
really,
it's
was
literally
there?
just, hey, we're gonna do some music for a bit.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I looked into this. Basically, they had a lot of. They had most of their animators had gone to war.
yeah.
And when they were like working this up, even though it was released in '46 after the war, but it was produced during the war
Yeah.
towards the end. So what they did is they were like looking around for half finished projects, and they could sort of integrate. And essentially, we have got 10 musical segments that have been
Yeah.
put together. Right, that's what we. Whether not much well, no connective tissue really.
Nah.
Um,
Like these
and some of them
could
are.
the I think these were actually also released as just the shorts. So,
Yeah, I'm pretty. I remember. I'm pretty sure I've seen there. Was it Casey at the bat?
yeah.
On its own, and I might have
I've
seen
seen Peter
the
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 Wolf.
final
So,
segment. Yeah, maybe. Um, But yeah, let's just talk about each segment. Yeah, so and they were from earlier projects, so that's kind of interesting, right?
yeah.
The first one, I have to laugh before we start. Opening credits, they're animated in the, opening credits are often something going on and then words overlaid over the top of them.
Yeah.
But actually, the credits are baked in. The actual who's in it is baked into the animation, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I did have a bit of a chuckle because they had this long list of various singers that were famous in the 40s,
Yeah.
right? And Sterling Holloway. That
Yeah.
did make me laugh. The voice of Winnie the Pooh, and we've talked about him
Yeah.
before. And it kind of made me give me a chuckle to see Sterling Holloway among the Andrews sisters and Nelson Eddy and Dinah Shore and stuff like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, so the first one is called the Martins and the Coys, and basically it's. I thought it was going to be really short because it starts with basically two lots of hillbillies living in opposite hills, right opposite each other.
Yeah.
Um, uh,
And
yeah,
their
not
rivals,
well
they could to the
represented
point.
as hell.
Yeah,
They're-
they're so vicious, right? Such vicious rivals, they can't breathe near each other without causing a
Yeah,
gunfight.
yeah. Well, essentially, what happens is you see one lot sleeping. I think it's the Martins. I
One
can't
of them
remember.
wears red, one of them wears blue.
Yeah, one's got black hair, one's got red hair, right?
Yeah,
Um, but they're all asleep, and one's sitting under a steel and like it's dripping into his mouth, and
yeah,
all of that. And then we focus on the other lot, and they're like sleeping with their pig under
mm,
their arm, and
yeah,
all that. And I think one grandpa, what of one of them, goes over to the others, and I couldn't work out if it was inadvertent or not, and goes into the hen house and takes the eggs. But that like kicks off like a turf war,
yeah. A
basically.
family feud.
Yeah, and we see all these gunshots going back and forth between the two hillocks, and then they all go up to heaven.
Well,
And I thought that was going to be it,
yeah,
right?
but no, they do like a little. Oh, there was only two members left. There was what was it, Grace and Henry,
Grace and Henry,
from the
so
opposite
girl
side. So,
from
oh boy,
one, Grace Martin and Henry Coy.
yeah.
But the instant they see each other, they kind of fall in love.
Hmm.
And essentially, all the families are in clouds on heaven, shouting down
Yeah, they're just
to
hurling abuse
fight, and
down
they fall in love.
the,
And then we see a wedding party, but then we see, when they get to the matrimonial home, which is built halfway between the two hillocks, very
yeah,
appropriately. Um, she's like, but punching him out of the house and throwing stuff at him, and like the fight.
the
And the
fight just
joke is
carries on. Yeah,
the feud's continuing, and the people in the clouds,
yeah, the
the
family's
families
all
in the
happy
clouds,
that it's
they're
that the
both
fight is still
laughing
going on.
about it. Yeah. I
So
have to say, there's a lot of. Did you notice there's a lot of heaven references in this?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
all the segments, right? Well, not all of them, but a few of them.
yeah.
It's
Quite a
kind of
few
weird.
have
Um,
heaven endings, sort of thing.
yeah, apparently in one of the later releases in the US, this was censored because the gun violence.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. In a cartoon, censor it.
yeah,
Yeah. Fine. Yeah. It was all right. It was kind of fun. There was a group singing over the top of it, telling the story. And
Yeah.
a lot of these were kind of musical recitals, aren't they? Or musical
Yeah, it
stories.
was a
Uh,
group called the Kingsmen sang this one.
the King's Men.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, it was fine. Didn't mind the animation. It reminded me a bit of uh, well, Disney really. I was going to say Peter Pan, but
Yeah,
not
it's
particularly.
very that sort of it's a cartoon short. Like there's no
Yeah,
real getting around it.
the
It's kind of
girl
just
in
a
it.
cartoon short. She
Yeah,
looked like the Red Hot Riding Hood.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's exactly. I was going to say like Red Hot Riding Hood in that really famous cartoon
yeah,
with the wolf, just like his tongue falling out and all that
yeah.
stuff. Sort of thing they parodied in
Mask.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit and yeah, Mask. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that's the first one.
Yeah.
The second one, Blue Bayou, and there was a tagline at the start of most of these, and I did make a note
Yeah,
of it, so I just wanted to
it
try and
was just sort like really short things like a ballet or a ballad,
yeah. So
that
this
sort
one
of thing.
started with the words "a tone poem."
Yeah,
Blue Bayou. No surprises here. Basically, it's a pretty song with like I thought they were herons, but apparently they're
mm.
egrets just flying around the bayou and kind of
Yeah. This wouldn't have been out of
interacting.
place in Fantasia, and
And
reading the Wikipedia, apparently it was intended to be in Fantasia. So yeah,
yeah,
so,
using Claire de Lune though,
yeah,
that one. But they got a pretty. I was trying to work out if this song had the same tempo as Claire de Lune. I couldn't work it out.
mm.
Claire de Lune's a bit one of them songs that could be a waltz or it could be a 4/4. Uh, but and it didn't really matter. It kind
Yeah,
of just worked. Apparently, the original version with Claire de Lune is you can see it somewhere. So okay.
okay,
I don't think it
neat.
would really affect your viewing pleasure one way or the other,
Yeah,
whichever song they used,
yeah,
to be honest. So, in many respects, this is kind of Fantasia, but with more modern songs. I haven't said that Peter and the Wolf's in it, so
yeah,
and some various opera singing, but it's kind of a funner version. Well, not a
yeah.
funner, a more
It's
up to date version of Fantasia. Right?
Yeah, I'd phrase it as more like a lower budget version of Fantasia.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
The animation was way more basic, but still quite
Hmm.
fun and engaging.
Hmm.
Which brings me to the next one, which I thought was actually it was cheap. It was basic animation, but they really coloured it up and it was a lot of fun. It was called All Cats Join In, which was hold on, the subtitle was a jazz interlude
Yeah, so
of the
this is
nature.
the one where it was we're gonna draw the comparisons to like Warner Brothers stuff a lot. But this
Oh
reminded
yeah,
me of
yeah.
the famous Daffy Duck cartoon that I can't remember the name
Where
of,
he's
where he's
haranguing the
haranguing the
artist,
artist,
right?
yeah, and
And
just
keep
keeps like hurling abuse and getting redrawn.
well, it's probable that Warner Brothers ripped this off, right?
Yeah,
Or
it's
took
entirely
took the
possible
idea.
that that was a reference to this, but
So
yeah,
essentially, it's young, like
young people are going to a malt
hep
bar.
cats from the
Yeah,
40s, um, kind of going on a date and all meeting up and stuff like that. But in the meantime, the artist is kind of almost frantically drawing ahead of them
yeah,
to
trying to
keep
keep
up
up
with them.
with
For
everything.
example, they take off in the car before he finishes drawing it, so he quickly ratchets his head and draws a stoplight so he can then
Yeah,
finish the car. There was a little editing in some version of this because there was some female near nudity,
yeah,
which we kind of see a bit. The girl gets the phone
Sh-
call from her boyfriend
and
and runs off and has a shower and gets changed and stuff like that.
yeah,
And her little sister's being aggravated,
yeah,
basically, and dressing up in clothes and putting makeup on alongside her bigger sister and things like that,
yeah,
and getting cross because she's not taking her along. Meanwhile, they're at the malt bar and there's kind of fun stuff.
yeah,
Really colourful and fun. The
yes,
jazz was great. Jazz was great, right?
yeah,
Benny Goodman and his orchestra produces
yeah,
the music for this one. Really fun. Reminded me, I think they reused some of these ideas in the Fantasia 2000. There were elements of that in
yes, in the
the
Rhapsody in
Gershwin
Blue.
segment.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Gershwin segment for sure. Kind of reminded me. This made me think of that.
okay,
So I feel that
yeah,
that was kind of. riffing on this. It did make me laugh. These teens in the 40s, like and their iconography was almost felt like 50s iconography. In the girl was wearing rolled up jeans and things like that. But no,
Yeah.
this is from the 40s. They were
Yeah.
dressing like that in the
Ahead
40s.
of their
So
time.
yeah, yeah. Um, the next one was
The next one was
probably one
weirdly horny. Like,
weird.
there's no getting around this. The first one is like two silhouettes becoming one. It's like,
Yeah,
whoa.
it was interesting animation and it was basic, but they were doing some weird stuff with it. Essentially, it was a long pat shot of a window with a guy singing basically a torch song, a ballad
Yeah.
about missing, without you, all that. Um, but they held a lot of still images, didn't they? And did a
Yeah.
slow pull in.
And
They
there
were
was
using that
a
kind of
lot of
technique to add.
cherubs opening very like vaginal openings in various things, and the camera going through. It's like, huh, yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
cherubs kind of appeared a few times, didn't
Yeah.
they? There was a lot of water running. Now I was trying to work this out because it was like animated, but some of this stuff was fuzzy because it almost appeared like water rivulets running down the
Mm.
image. And I was trying to work out, did they just film an image and run what? But it doesn't look like that. It looks like they
They may have
actually
had done like a transparent
somehow,
film with
yeah.
then filmed it running water down it, and
So
then
they,
animated
yeah,
behind that sort of
it's
thing.
probably the most forgettable of the sequences
Yeah.
we saw, really, because there's nothing to latch onto, really.
Yeah.
It was trees and
Yeah.
a tree, and autumn and and things like that. Right. Okay. So yeah. Okay. We are
Oh,
really
I've
racist.
misremembered. I've like butchered this. The two silhouettes becoming one is after the next part.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how
No. No.
forgettable
You're.
this
Yeah.
part is, I
That is.
guess.
Yeah. I was
So
wondering because I couldn't quite remember cherubs in this, but I could have just missed it. But there was definitely cherubs in the two silhouettes. Well, let's talk about the two silhouettes now because we
yeah,
conflated them anyway and come back. Right. Two silhouettes. Yeah. Now
yeah.
this
This
is
is the horny one.
interesting. Yeah,
Like,
it
good
definitely
Lord.
is. It definitely is. And Dinah Shaw sings beautifully on this,
Yeah,
and this has two cherubs, but it's ballet dancers, right? It's
yeah,
a ballet scene, and they were rotoscoped. They were two actual dancers rotoscoped in, and you can tell
yeah,
it's
yeah. It was
clearly a
quite
rotoscoped.
distinctly not
Yeah, yeah, you can
animated.
see they're real things. They're not animated. But there's also two clearly animated cherubs flying around in silhouette
Hmm.
around, and they're kind of opening things and doorways, and there's all that kind
Yeah,
of plays you Dr. Freud. Yeah, all
yeah.
that. Um, so yeah, yeah, well,
It's
it's kind of a short
unsubtle.
ballet.
So
Yeah, yeah, so basically, it's about these two silhouettes dancing, but and
yes,
there's color
dancing.
changes. There's a lot of blue, and there's some pinks, and
Yeah,
and so it goes. Okay, I mean, yeah, yeah. It's. I'm glad they didn't cut it next to Without You because that would have been. It would have just felt like one long thing,
yeah,
to
yeah.
be honest. Uh,
But yeah.
Probably the two more forgettable elements of the whole thing. Actually, those two. Right, the next one I have seen as its own short.
Hmm.
Casey at the Bat, really fun. It's basically a poem. It's a famous poem about a ball player that thinks he's really it,
Hmm.
and they in the town of Mudville, set in 1902. And there's some interesting like little things in the recitation. So it must be fair. Or they've updated the original. I think the original poem was from earlier. Let me just check that. It Yeah, it was written in 1888, but there's definite elements in this that are modern. For example, he says he was the Sinatra of his day is one of the lines.
Yeah,
So that's clearly not from 1880. That's from 1940s,
yeah,
right? Because all the girls are swooning over him. Basically, this team is rubbish, isn't
yeah.
they?
Except for Casey.
Except for Casey. But the other team are like cheating a bit, like giving one guy a hot foot and this,
Yeah.
that, and the other, and they're getting all these. There was a flaw in some of the anime. I did. It was a little thing I noticed though. At one point, a guy catches a ball in a catcher's mitt,
Hmm.
and then
Cuts
it
to a line.
cuts.
He's just
It,
holding it.
it cuts to a slightly different angle, and it's just his hand, right? It's not
Yeah,
catcher's mitt just disappears. So what? Um, so yeah, so we get Casey Taylor again. The animation reminded me a bit of Pinocchio.
yeah.
Um, in this.
Hmm.
And I like the crowds. The crowds made me laugh. And the fact that these guys were all haranguing one guy that was trying to support
Yeah,
and
that
lose
did make me chuckle.
but he was crying and they're all laughing at him. The girls were all swoon. They were a bit like
In Beauty and the
Grace in the
Beast.
first one, right? They were a little bit like her,
Yeah,
and they're all swooning over. And there was lots of jokes about Casey,
yeah,
on double entendres. Like for example, he had it kept his nerve and he knew the look of a curve. Uh, you know,
yeah,
that could be taken two ways, and stuff like that. And he had an eye on the ball and an eye for more of an eye for the ladies, all
yeah,
this kind of. Anyway, Casey lets two balls go, doesn't he?
yeah,
And I didn't quite understand. It had all the usual baseball iconography: people arguing with the refs, people haranguing the refs from the crowd, all
yeah,
that. At one point, Casey just lets the ball go, and the ref says strike one. And then someone, like a really short guy from his team, starts arguing the ref, and it's like, well, how's that an argument? He clearly
yeah,
was a strike one. It's so weird.
yeah.
But they wanted somebody else to
National
let.
pastimes, no.
Yeah, but the thing is, he basically lets two balls go to win on the third one as the plan, right?
Yeah.
And they're
And then he
just about to do it, and they don't show it. They cut to something else,
See, I'd
like
never
a
heard the
springtime thing.
yeah, I'd never heard the poem before. So I assumed it was cut into somewhere else and like the ball would land.
Oh, you'll
So
wait for
it's just
that.
like, oh, that's
See,
the
I've
bit.
seen it before, so I
And
know that
it's
Casey misses.
yeah.
Casey loses. Right? Um, so then it cuts back, and the town's in ruins, and Casey's standing angrily at the stump, and all the crowds are left trying to hit a ball, and he can't hit it.
Mm,
There was apparently a sequel to this in 1954 called Casey Bats Again.
yeah.
I presume he probably actually hits it this time, but I don't
Hopefully.
know. I haven't seen that one. So
Again
yeah, there
implies he
was
hit it the first time though, so who knows?
yeah. It's well he batted, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he hits it. So yeah, kind of a fun one. I
Mm,
quite enjoyed this. Quite enjoyed it.
yeah.
Then we've already talked about two silhouettes.
Yeah.
The next I quite
The
liked
next one's the one I've
actually.
seen before, the Peter and the
Peter and the
Wolf.
Wolf.
Yeah.
Where we get basically Sterling Holloway narrated
Yeah,
in the
Sterling
voice of
Holloway
William
does
Defoe.
like apparently this used to be a thing with like orchestra where they'd have like a storyteller. But
Oh, really?
yeah,
I was wondering. Look, the thing is, I quite like Sterling. I could listen to Sterling away just talk, right? And that's fine.
yeah,
But man, I was thinking they really don't need apart from the intro where he was explaining the instruments, the hunt. This is the hunters,
yeah,
and the duck is
yeah.
what an oboe
Sasha, yeah,
and all that, right?
yeah,
Uh, and the bird is a flute, all that. I,
yeah.
I thought
That's
that
the
was good,
oboe.
but
Yeah.
when he carried on talking while it was happening, I was thinking, wow, did they actually do this with just the music and lose confidence? And so they felt they had to do something to
No,
have a
I'd
or is
recently
that just how it
rewatched
was?
like a Bill Bailey's Guide to the Orchestra, and
Okay,
apparently
oh
that
yeah,
was
he's
like
very
a
good.
thing that was just how you did orchestra, is you had a narrator telling the story, whatever story that they were trying to tell, while
Okay,
the orchestra played.
so you can better vision.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, he wasn't really telling the story. It was
No,
more like
he was
comical
reacting to the
asides.
story.
Yeah, it's just oh, go on, Sasha, do
Yeah.
this and all this kind of sense. So basically, Peter, his grandpa stops him going out first,
Yeah.
and all he's got is a pop
And
gun.
there's a wolf
Uh,
out there, but
and
he's
there's
going
a
to
wolf.
hunt it.
The wolf was shit your pants scary when it first appeared. It was
Yeah.
like big red eyes, big red mouth. It's akin to the close up of the Wicked Witch turning into the old hag in uh,
Yeah. Snow
Snow
White.
White,
Yeah.
right? It was akin to that. It was like, whoa.
Yeah.
um, so basically, Peter's got some little helpers, isn't he? He's got a bird
Yeah.
called Sasha, Sonia the duck,
Yeah.
and I was wondering actually,
Ivan
no,
the cat.
if it was going to be Donald Duck actually, but no. And then
That
Ivan
would
the
have
cat,
been a
great
bit
name
fun
for
a
a
little
cat,
bit.
Ivan the cat.
Yeah.
Ivan the cat chases the bird at first,
Yeah.
but then they all gang
There's
up,
like a bit of finger wagging, and then they all group together to hunt the wolf.
and they're hunting the wolf, and the wolf, basically the wolf hunts them, right?
Yes.
Essentially chases them off a tree, chases Sonia, and he appears to eat cat, traps Sonia inside a tree stump and appears to eat her because he's got feathers all around his mouth. And then we even see Sonia go up to heaven. Heaven
Yeah,
again.
they don't.
Heaven again.
They don't. This is not like, oh, she's. It's like we just didn't see her recover. No, they show her walking through the pearly gates, and the gates closing
Waving
behind
goodbye.
her.
Waving goodbye. Um, and meanwhile, they're still stuck up the tree and the wolves trying to get them. And they basically, the bird is turns into a gangster, right? And basically
Yeah,
goes down and starts
starts
punching the
fighting.
wolf's nose, pecking his head, even sits on his tongue at
Yeah,
one point, and somehow doesn't get eaten. Then the what? But basically, he accidentally, and I think Sterling always says something like hubris or overconfidence is a terrible thing because the bird flies into the tree, knocks itself out, and falls on the ground,
yeah,
and the wolf goes to eat it. Meanwhile, the cat ties a rope to its tail after failed attempts,
yeah,
and he manages to hoist the wolf up. And then we don't see what happens, but hunters appear. There's three
yeah.
hunters.
Hunter's being guided
One
by
a little short guy with a ginger beard, and then two,
two taller
yeah,
guys, and this short guy kind
yeah,
of bounces between them.
the three of them, comic effect. And they find out what's going on. They look for Peter. They find Peter's hat, so you think Peter's had it,
Yeah,
but then they look up in the tree, and Peter's basically tied the wolf to the tree, and him and the cat are just sitting on it like it's a swing,
yeah,
right? And Sonia the bird.
yeah.
Um,
And then the
and
duck
then they,
walks out of the stump as they're mourning.
yeah, at the end. Well, what it is, they take the wolf back to the village, and there's all these celebrations. There's, Cossack dancing kind of stuff, all that kind of business.
Hmm.
But then it comes back to Sonia the bird saying everyone was happy except the wolf. Oh, and Sonia, and like Sonia's lamenting her friend, looking at her. So, sorry, Sonia's the that Sasha is the
Sasha's the one
Sasha's
lamenting.
lamenting her friend Sonia, his friend Sonia, her friend Sonia, whatever. Um, um, but then Sonia pops out of the tree stump, so
Yeah,
Sonia wasn't dead at all. It was a mislead, and then they fly off happily. But
yeah,
that's kind of cool.
yeah.
Kind of cool.
Nice and sweet.
I quite
So,
liked it. So yeah, I mean, this was a famously. I think this was released as a short before the film.
hmm,
So, and I think they may even, and includes Peter and the Wolf in some of the ads or
hmm.
something like, something like that,
Yeah,
because it was kind of a famous piece thing. It must have been talked about because it's a striking piece.
yeah,
It's way more memorable than most of the ones we've already seen. I'd say.
yeah.
Um, I mean, of all the ones we've done, probably this one and the last one are the ones to remember the most.
Yes.
Maybe a case of the back
Yeah,
two,
Willie the Whale is very memorable. So,
yeah. The next one is After You've Gone. Again, a bit of jazz. Really liked it.
yeah.
Won't remember it. Won't
Nope.
remember it because it's got
Genuinely
a
forgot that it was a part. I thought this went straight into Johnny Fedora and Alice Bluebonnet.
yeah. This was kind of in the same realm as the Pink Elephants, but not as memorable. That
Yeah.
from Dumbo, that kind of thing. All these instruments just running around. There's like I don't know. There's a segment, for example, where I think a clarinet and a double bass are in a boxing ring. I've got a note against that for some reason.
Yeah.
Um, but then it just keeps changing.
Yeah.
It's just a weird, surreal stuff going on with this cool jazz playing, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. I like the music. I like the music. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, not that memorable because there's not really a story. When there's no story, it's really quite difficult to
Yeah.
remember these. Um,
Yeah.
and then second to the last segment is Johnny Fedora and Alice Bluebonnet,
Yeah.
where this
This
is
is a
almost a
sweet one.
replay. Yeah, this is almost a replay of the Tin Soldier story, right?
Hmm.
To me, two hats in a hat shop, a fedora, Johnny Fedora and Alice Bluebonnet. She gets bought,
But he
and Johnny
doesn't.
Fedora pines after her.
Yeah. He
He
resolves to
based,
find her by singing
yeah,
a tune when he
yeah,
eventually gets bought so he can find her.
yeah. He's constantly looking at all the other hats, and we're seeing all these other hats he's interacting with, like a copper's hat, and different people's hats. And then it seems like the bloke he's wearing at the minute is a bit of a gangster because he goes in a bar, so there's all this,
There's
and there's a
immediately a shoot
gunfight.
up. So,
shoot up. And he kind of goes from pillar to post. He's getting battered and bruised. A bit like the Tin Soldier,
yeah,
right? It's just getting worse and worse. In fact, he nearly gets washed down the drain, just like the Tin Soldier,
yeah,
if I remember. Um, and it's just getting worse and worse, and people find him. And then someone finds him, and you think he's going to hit the worst because the bloke pulls out a pair of scissors and starts cutting holes in him.
yeah.
And you think, this
And he
isn't it.
slaps him
But
on a
it
horse,
basically
and
puts him on a horse's head. It's
yeah,
cutting the holes for the horse's ears. But then it turns out Alice Bluebonnet is on the horse next to him. So
and it's
they
like,
get to live
no,
happily ever after. That's what Andrew's sister's singing a lot of vocals. Very famous American sort of singing trio, I believe.
hmm.
In a lot of Abbott and Costello films as well.
Okay,
These people, and very famous for things like Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy from Company B, stuff like that. Right? I could barely say that.
yeah, I know
Um,
the one you mean, the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy from Company
yeah,
B.
they did a lot of that. It was yeah, this was a fun one, and they did cut it into a standalone short
Yeah,
after the film came out, I think. Um, it says 54. Wow, so
okay,
quite a while after. So
yeah,
yeah, I like this one. This was kind of fun.
yeah,
Um, and there was some quite good animation. It's weird. You can kind of tell when they're putting the real effort in because,
mm,
Casey at the Bat was well animated. Johnny Fedora was well animated. And I haven't said that Peter the Wolf and Arthur You've gone well animated. It's just some of them they're using a lot of still images and just zoom, slowly panning it,
yeah,
zooming
yeah,
in, and things like that to give it a sense of movement. But in this, they were actually doing full animation, so it was fine.
mm.
Yeah, so which leads us to the last and probably the longest segment, I
Yeah,
think.
it's definitely the longest. This was like
The Wow Who
15 or
Want to
so
Sing at the
minutes,
Met.
whereas the others
Yeah,
were
this
like
is
almost
Nelson Eddy. It
five.
was yeah,
So,
Nelson. Oh yeah, this was 50. Nelson Eddy did most of the singing. Nelson Eddy, famous kind of opera or light opera singer back in the day, got into Cockney rhyming and slang. So Nelsons are money, Reddies.
okay,
Nelson Eddies are Reddies.
yeah,
So Nelsons are money. You don't hear that
interesting.
much anymore, but
No,
yes, it got into the slang. Did Nelson Eddy?
yeah,
So basically, as Sperm Wow is singing,
yeah,
gets spotted, and this bloke called what's his name,
Teti
Teti
Tati.
Tati, who is like
He's in
I
like a
don't know,
talent
is it?
agent, I think.
Yeah, he believes the whale has swallowed an opera singer.
Yeah,
That's what he's
when he
convinced.
gets out there, because he hears a harmony, he's like, no, he swallowed three.
Swallowed three,
Yeah,
and it basically he goes out on a boat. He gets sailors with a harpoon gun to go hunt this whale down.
yeah,
However, a seagull sees a newspaper about this singing wow because there's all this stuff about
yeah,
singing wow.
and lets his
Before he
friend Willie
starts saying
know.
no, he's eating a opera singer, and he goes and tells his friend,
Yeah,
the Willie the wow. Willie is the name of the
yeah,
wow. About this, so Willie can start sort of. Yeah, but Willie is just singing
yeah.
away. He likes singing, um,
I like that he
and
sings like ad music. Like,
he sings. Yeah, yeah. It's really interesting. He sings all sorts,
yeah,
doesn't he? I mean, he sings
sings
classical,
shortening
but he sings.
bread. So,
For example, yeah, shortening bread. Wow,
yeah,
yeah. But he's got three like epiglottises or something, which means
yeah,
he can do three different voices, three
yeah,
different scales. So he can sing as a soprano, a tenor, and a baritone kind of
mm,
thing. Um, so yes, so when Tati Tati hears this, he starts thinking, "Oh, he's followed. He's followed free." He keeps trying to shoot him, but the sailors really like listening to the wow, so they just keep
they keep
piling
wrestling
on
into the
him.
ground.
And meanwhile, the seagull swoops in. Will is singing with one of his epiglottis. He swoops in and pings the second one, so the second voice comes in,
Yeah,
and the seagull goes back and makes with its wing the symbol two,
yeah,
and then goes back and does the third and goes back symbol three,
yeah,
and so but the crewmen are really really digging this, so they're basically stopping Teti Teti trying to harpoon him.
yeah.
Um,
And as he does, starts to listen and he starts to visualize all the different shows he can put on with Willie the Whale.
Yeah, yeah. So we do get him at the Met. We see him
Yeah,
at the Met singing all sorts of. I mean, I did like it. It was Figaro. It was Pagliacci.
yeah,
This wasn't just in the Met, around the world. It did make me laugh. They had all these newspaper clips, and at one point it said London Gazette or something. It said Yank whale sings. So presumably at the Palladium or
yeah.
something, they got the
That's some
whale.
British like stiff upper lip. It's like, yeah, it's just a
Yeah,
whale. Who
yeah,
you trying to impress?
wearing all
So
the jewelry, looking like the royal family kind of stuff.
yeah,
So yeah, but however,
we
um,
don't get that far
we don't get that tete tatty, despite appearing to be realize what does actually harpoon the whale,
and kills him.
and we get heaven,
Yeah,
heaven
it
again.
cuts to Willie
Um,
singing in heaven where all the seats have been sold out.
he's turned pink. He's and the
Yeah,
clouds are all pink, and he's singing, and we see the whole multitudes of heaven as little heads,
yeah,
thousands of them in clouds watching, and the pearly gates have a sold out sign on.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Nelson was very good in this. Figaro was great,
yeah.
and all sorts. There was a bit of Wagner at one point, wasn't there? Um,
Yeah, I think the bit where he was
Weirdly, the
like
woman, the
Mephisto,
female singer, wasn't
Mephistopheles.
very good for
Yeah,
some reason. They got one who comically bad kind of singer
yeah.
against Willie. I don't know why they did that, but yeah,
Deliberate
yeah,
contrast must have the other
yeah,
real answer.
yeah. So and then the curtains drop, and then we see the words "Make My Music" and the film ends.
Mm,
There you go. 75 minutes, 10 shorts. That's
yeah,
what we get.
nice and easy. Some
Some of them are longer
forgettable.
than that.
Yeah,
Willie the Whale's definitely the longest one. Some of the ones we kind of skip through tend to be the shorter items as well, but
yeah,
they're the less memorable ones. So Casey the Bat's fairly memorable. Peter and Horse memorable.
yeah,
Johnny Fedora and Alice Bluebonnet's memorable, and the Whale is kind of memorable.
yeah,
Of all of them, probably Peter and the Wolf and
yeah.
Willie.
That's the distinctly memorable ones because they're
Yeah, yeah.
more story based. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it was fun, very light, wasn't it? Very
yeah,
lightweight.
hour and 15 minutes. So
Yeah, yeah, and we got a few more of these to get through as
yeah,
well before we get into the more familiar
yeah,
classic Disney
we're
kind
gonna
of
hit Cinderella and
movie.
then it's Disney princesses. So
Yes, there's a lot of those. Um, it's kind of Fantasia modernized and done a bit cheaper in it and shorter.
yeah.
That's kind
I
of
mean, like,
my
understandably
opinion.
so. The animators were at World War, all fighting in World War Two.
Yeah,
They've
yeah,
been drafted, so
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Right, so okay-ish, I guess.
yeah.
How would you rate this?
I'd probably put it at a six, maybe a seven.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3 out of 5, so a
Yeah,
6 out of 10 for me.
yeah,
Yeah, quite like the songs.
yeah,
There were, I'd say, half the segments were quite memorable,
yeah,
um, but the rest of them not really
yeah,
so much. So yeah, not a bad thing at all.
yeah,
The next one like this, and I don't know if it'd be the next one we need to discuss, but the next one like this is called Fun and Fancy Free, which was come out the year after. So
yeah.
we'll
I think
see.
that is the next one. So
Well, there's something between, but we need to discuss what we're going to cover it on. So we'll see what we're going to come back with next.
yeah,
Right, okay. Time to
okay,
wind out there, right?
yeah.
So bye from me.
Bye.